Hi. You know what I love about the Amazon affiliate program? It's not that the buyer manages to pay more money for the product or service. It's that Amazon makes less off the product or service, which I think is great because I've put in a couple of these old videos why it is I just despise eBay and Amazon when it comes to how they deal with their sellers. So I've thought about this, and I've thought about this concept of selling out. And the thing is here is that if I use this Amazon affiliate program thing, again, it's not about me taking money out of the pockets of my audience. It's about me taking money out of the pockets of Amazon, which I'm totally okay with because they've taken enough money out of my pockets when people would buy something, then ship it back to me with a brick in the box and file an A to Z claim. So I'm going to start working on my making back the money that I lost when I decided to sell on Amazon in 2012 and 2013. And we're going to start with answering a question that I get on this channel all the time, which is what microscope do you use and what microscope should you buy? I'm going to go over a couple of the features of the few microscopes that I have here, and I'm going to tell you which one you should buy and why I think you should buy it. I went over this in the tools I use and why I use them video, but most people don't watch that video because it doesn't have the word microscope in the title. Jessa and I have a running gag where anytime like we go to lunch or something or we're teaching a class, our phones have that little Google Plus notification going off every 30 seconds. And usually every 30 seconds, it's what microscope to use, what microscope to use, what microscope to use, what microscope to use. So I'm going to link to this video every single time somebody asks that specific question. So the first thing I want to go over here is the fact that, again, I'm not going to be showing you the same microscope that I myself use because the microscope that I use comes from a company that I don't even want to mention the name of anymore because of how ticked off I've been by them. So I'm not even going to mention their name. However, I do believe that their microscopes are made most likely in the exact same factory as a different company that makes pretty good microscopes and also offers some pretty good service. So I'm going to be linking you to one of those microscopes. Now, this is a microscope that I've personally used. Jessa Jones at Practical Board Repair School has a bunch of microscopes from both brands. I've used them all, and there are minor differences between most of them. But I can say that the microscope that I'm linking to you to is on par with quality, if not a tiny bit of an upgrade over the microscope that's sitting on my desk right now. So I'm going to be linking you to that one. However, since there are many features of both of these microscopes, since again, as I've said, I firmly believe they're probably both made in the same factory, just a different color of paint and a different stamp on it at the end, that they're very, very similar. So I'm going to be showing you a lot of what's going on with my microscopes over here. I have two of them, just to give you an idea of why I chose the microscopes I chose and what features about them make them interesting to me. The first thing about this microscope is that it is simulfocal. Simulfocal means that you can see out of both eyepieces while using the camera. So if you look at my microscope over here, you can see that I have this little camera attachment on it, right? So I have the camera, but then I'm looking through here. Now, with one of the crappier microscopes, the issue is that you can't see through both eyepieces when using the camera. So if I want to use the camera, I have to pull something, and when I pull that, I now can only see out of my left eye. That sucks. That just sucks. Working with one eye sucks. I don't want to be a Cyclops. I don't want to go back to being a Cyclops. I'm spoiled, and it's just all sorts of crap, nasty. I don't want to do that. So I'm linking you to a microscope that is simulfocal. That's an important part to me. That's a very important feature to me. The next feature that's important to me is adjustable zoom. Now, admittedly, I do most of my work at 7x or 10x, and I'm going to go over why that is with a quick example here. So the reason I do most of my work at a low zoom is because when you use a high zoom, it's very easy to go out of focus. So for example, here I am at 7x, right? Let's try to focus on something small. Let's try to focus on this right over here. So I'm at 7x, and this is a broken board, so I don't really care if I screw with it too much, but I'm flexing it on the desk, and as you can see, that component is always in focus. Now let's go from 7x to 20x. At 20x, I get the component in focus, and when I move it, when I'm moving the board on the desk, you can see it's starting to go out of focus. So the higher the level of zoom, the more sensitive it is to going out of focus. Now, if I go all the way up to 45x, and I finally get it in focus, you can see that I can take this thing out of focus just by tapping the desk. I don't even have to touch the board. If I simply drop my screwdriver on the desk, and this moves a little bit, it goes out of focus. And God forbid I actually touch the board. If I start touching the board, I tap it, then, look at that. Things start to go out of focus really quickly. Let's go around some other components here. So let's say I tap it because I'm ready to do my soldering. I'm ready to put the wire there. It's really easy for it to go out of focus with these really small movements. And that can start to screw with your brain after a while. I know that that screws with mine. So I like to keep it to a lower level of magnification. I like to try to get as much work as I can done in that 7 to 12x range, because in this range, even when I move the board around or I move the desk, I'm not really putting it that far out of focus. However, adjustable zoom is important to me because sometimes I'm going to want to inspect something up really close. I may want to inspect a solder joint. I may want to inspect some kind of wire that I ran under a BGA chipset, and especially if you're doing iPhone or any type of phone data recovery where you're trying to do long screw damage. You're not going to do long screw successfully at 7x most of the time. You're going to want to go up to at least, I would say, at least 20x if you're going to be doing long screw. So I do like having adjustable zoom. And with microscopes like the SE400 is a good entry-level microscope, but when you change the lenses to go from 10x to 20x, it's almost like you're looking through a keyhole. Like, a lot of people say, I don't know what you're talking about, and I would say that those people are blind. If you have an Amscope SE400 and you put on the 20x lenses, and you think that that's the same image quality that you're getting out of the 10x, like, I don't think you notice that at 10x you're looking out this, and 20x it's like you're looking through this. It's ridiculous. Whereas again, when you move up to the $300 to $600 microscopes, you can see as I zoom, you still have that clear picture. You still have the same resolution, it's the same size, and it's great. So I like having adjustable zoom. The next thing that I like having is an adjustable light. So the microscope that I link to has an adjustable light. So one thing you're going to notice when you zoom in a lot, you have less light available than when you zoom out. So when I zoom out, it's like, it's like turning the lights on when you're just about to wake up. It's terrible. So I like having the adjustable light because I can then turn it down. So what I notice with people who do not have an adjustable light is they use the zoom to adjust the light. So let's say they would ideally be working at 10x. But 10x is too bright for them because they don't have an adjustable light. What they'll do is they'll move it up to 20 or 30x just to make it darker, but that's not ideal for their workflow. So they're working at a zoom that is not ideal for their workflow just because the light is not adjustable. So I made sure to include a microscope here that has an adjustable light. The next thing that I want this to have, again, as I said, I like simulfocal, so obviously this has a trinocular port. If you do want to get a camera at a future point in time, you can. The camera is imperative to training people. You need to be able to see what somebody is doing and know it's not going to work if you're looking over their shoulder like that. If you want to train somebody else or you want to analyze what they're doing, having the camera hooked up to a screen that's above the microscope is very, very useful. I find it useful. You're going to find that there are people that you can train. You're going to find that there are people that already know everything. And you're going to find that there are people that you can spend all the time in the world with, and they're meant to do something else with their life. But the point is that it's useful to have the camera so that you can actually see. If you can see where somebody is struggling, you can then advise them on what they could be doing differently so that they're not struggling anymore. Or with the camera, if you see them struggling, you can just show them, okay, here's what you're doing. Here's what I'm going to do. Try it my way and see what happens. It's really useful to have the camera here. So I'm linking to one that has a port available where you can, sometime in the future, put a camera if you'd like to have a camera. Now, another thing on zoom is I see a lot of these microscopes going up to 144, 200, 300, 400, 500 again. With the shakiness thing, I don't even like going above 20x. I don't. I understand that there are times where 45x may be useful in electronics repair. Very rarely, but I get it. But 90x, 200, 300, 500, you don't need that. You need 10 to 20x 99% of the time for what it is we're doing. 10 to 20x is what I'm working at. It's what you see on the screen, and it's what you're going to want. So don't spend a bunch of extra money to get 2 or 4 or 1000x or 1,000,000x. Again, if you want to examine cancer cells or bacteria, fine. If you want to fix quarter fan spin, 10 or 20x. Now, the next thing that I'm going to talk about here is the actual stand the microscope is on. A lot of people don't think about this, but this is something that is important. Now, Jessa and I have the exact opposite opinions on this. I'm going to try to be impartial when I talk about the benefits and the cons of each one. I like a boom stand. I like a stand that stays in place where every time I want to move it, I have to unscrew stuff to make that happen. So let me just show you what I mean by that. All right, so this is my boom stand. That's my empty paper towel spool, and yes, that's deodorant. Yep, you never know when you need it. Anyway, so This is the boom stand to my microscope, right? Now I have different adjustments over here to this boom stand. I have this one over here, which allows me to move it up and down, and also from side to side. Now there's also this one over here, which adjusts this thing, which allows the microscope to move like this. Now I'm very rarely doing anything with this. And then this one also comes with this thing over here. See this? This allows me to lock it in place. So what I can do here is I can lock this over here, which allows me to then loosen this so I can adjust it, I can move it left and right without worrying about the microscope falling all the way down. Because again, if I loosen this, the microscope is going to fall all the way down. So this is the way that I usually have this oriented on the desk. This is the way I'm usually using this microscope. Now going over why I like it set up like this, while I'm working on a motherboard, the motherboard is going to be over here. But when I'm not working on a board, I just do that. It's that easy. So when I'm working, I do this. And when I'm not working on a board and I want my keyboard and my mouse, I want more area for this, I don't want this in the way, I can just swing it right over. So what this does is it gives me some of the benefits of the articulating stand, but without the nightmare of it constantly shaking up and down. What I like about the boom stand is that it's very steady. Now granted, my desk is not very steady. That has nothing to do with the boom stand itself. It's not the boom stand's fault that I spent $30 on a piece of crap desk at IKEA that's on an uneven floor. But the boom itself, the pro of the boom stand is that it's very, very sturdy. The downside of the boom stand is that you lose the ability to easily go up and down. So again, if I want to move up and down on this, you got to do this, and then you have to screw it in. And then if I want to go back down on this, I have to unscrew it and do this. So it's less convenient to move this around. But the upside is that it's stable. So again, if I'm moving across, if I want to walk across the room right now, let's get this in focus. If I just walk around the room, it's not going to go out of focus, which is nice. Now, compare and contrast this to this thing over here, my other one. This is an articulating boom stand. Now, the idea with the articulating arm is that it moves around. See, if I want to go up, I can do this. There's no screwing it. There's no I'm going to loosen this and tighten this and loosen that and tighten this. It just moves around nice and smoothly, which is a nice feature. And of course, the moment that I decide to put the screen down, the phone rings. Now again, what makes this thing cool? You just move it around. You could sit down and work. So let me turn this thing on. Turn the light on. Turn the TV on. So I got a bunch of fucked up donor boards on this desk. Let's see. Yeah, this one has a hole through the CPU. That's a good one to use as an example. So we can just put one of these things down here, and I can show you the difference in terms of what happens when you move around the room. Here we go. So now again, if I were not being lazy, I would just pipe this out directly over there so that you could see it on the screen, but yeah, that really is what I should do. That really is what I should do, but the cable won't reach. Oh well. Anyway. So this is the articulating stand, and the thing that drives me nuts with this one is that when you move, the picture on the screen moves, which you can't really see well, so you just have to trust me on that. But the issue with this is just, again, you do this, it's very sensitive to any type of tapping, because it's set up to be to move freely. That winds up being its downfall. Like, it's great because it's very flexible and it's easy to move around, but the fact that it's easy to move around means that when you pick up your tweezer, it will move around. When you lean your elbow on the table, it will move around. So this kind of drives me nuts. And here's the thing that I find. I cannot set this microscope up so that it is more sturdy, but I can set up the boom stand microscope so that it is more flexible. So the reason that I prefer this one is I can set this in. I can make this thing more flexible. So it's a boom stand, but if I want to make it more flexible, I can simply have this thing up here and unscrew this thing over here, and I can just move it around as I see fit. And this is enough up and down for me. I don't need more up and down than this. And if the trick that I like to use, if I want it to be further away from my board, what I do, and this is a trick, I guess not really a trick. Anybody can come up with this shit. Is what I do is I move it off the table, right? So I usually have this out a little more than this. So when I have it on the table, it's over here. But then let's say I want to look at the board from the side because I want to see under something. I do something like this. I move it over here, so now I have more space. So I'm not limited by the table anymore. I can go much further down. So watch. So for example, let's say that I'm looking at, let's take a look at an LED driver chip like this, right? I can't see under it. See, I can't get that into focus. But if I move it outside over here onto the table, now I can do this. Now this is something that I usually thought I could only do with the articulating stand. But I can actually do that with the boom stand so long as I set it up so that I can look at it, so that I can have the board go under the table. And the way I do that is, again, I just swing it from here to here. And now I have all that room. So the reason I like this boom, the reason that my preference is to the boom stand is I can make the boom stand more flexible, but I cannot make the articulating stand more sturdy. So that's why I like this thing. And that's, I think, let's see, I've gone over zoom, I've gone over the trinocular port, I've gone over simulfocal, I've gone over different zoom amounts, I've gone over the type of light and why I like it, I've gone over image quality, I've gone over the bang for the buck that you get. So I think I've gone over virtually all the reasons that I recommend the microscope that you see in that Amazon listing. And again, the reason that I am looking at the Amazon affiliate program is, it's really cool to be able to take money from Amazon, just to get back at the amount of money that Amazon has taken from me. Again, it is just countless amounts of times that people have literally sent me back a brick or their old stuff in the box and then filed an A to Z claim, like just constantly. And it's like they would file the claim on Friday morning. I would reply to it on like Saturday morning. But because I replied to it on Saturday morning, that was too late, so it was in favor of it. It's like, there's this shit that you deal with if you sell on Amazon is completely ridiculous. I think I put this too low. Yeah, too low. Absolutely ridiculous. So one of the things I like about this is it doesn't take money away from the customer. Like, you're not paying a markup to buy through me. It's not the customer that has to pay extra for me to get the money. It's Amazon that makes less money. And something about that just puts a nice big smile on my face. It's one of those. All right. So I figured I would also do a little bit of a demo fixing something with this microscope. So for people who are just looking for information on these microscopes, who are not, I guess, regular watchers of the channel, this is the kind of image quality you can come to expect. The image quality is actually a lot better in these microscopes when you're looking directly at it. The one thing to consider here is that it will look worse for YouTube. And then firstly, it's going to look worse to the camera than it does to the oculars. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that even after I record it, even if I'm recording it in good quality, there's what I record and then there's what YouTube does to what I record. And what YouTube does to what I record is a sad, sad thing. So it's going to look a lot better in person than it does here. This is one of the examples and one of the many things that you'll be able to do when you have the microscope that may just be a little bit more difficult without a microscope. So it's noisier since I have the air filter and the hot air station on. Just to be clear, I don't get paid by any of these companies. Specifically, it's just that Amazon affiliate thing. Amscope doesn't give me shit. If Amscope wanted to, if Amscope wanted to, that's great, but I just endorse the products that I use. This Pokemon shit is out of control, man. I keep thinking that there's a customer about to walk in, and it's just some fuckwit walking by to try to catch a fucking Pokemon. And then, like, as I say on this channel, I like to go walking home, right? And it's like, man, walking home in Manhattan with this Pokemon shit is impossible. Like, you have to. I've been working on getting my cold shoulder just a little bit stronger. Because it's not like I want to bump into people. I don't want to just go out of my way to bump into people. But it's like they're walking down this. They're not even walking down the road diagonally. Because the thing with, you know, when texting on the cell phone became really popular while you're walking around, people were at least like, they would do this. They would walk like this. So if I'm walking over here, if I'm walking, let's say I'm walking straight and you're walking like this, I can at least kind of go this way, or I know that if I do this, I'm not going to bump into you. Now, here's the thing that's fucked up with this whole Pokemon Go shit. It's not even that people are... It's not even that they're walking diagonally. It's like they're walking like this. They're walking like this. So even if I go, okay, I can go around you. No, I can't go around you because you're going to fucking bump into me anyway. So I've just been doing my best to have the hardest cold shoulder that I can so that when somebody does wind up bumping into me, you know, their Pokemon gets fucked up, not me. It's like it's just ridiculous. I'm walking down the street. I'm just walking to the bridge and like somebody's doing... Like, what the fuck, man? Like, this... Like, get the fuck away from me. Like, I'm sure it's a great game. I'm sure it's a great game. You know, go fucking play it somewhere else. On my way home yesterday, I must have cold shouldered at least 17 people. Again, it's nothing against them. It's I tried to walk around you. You are walking in you're walking in a fucking trapezoid. Ah. You're walking in a trapezoid down the street. That's gotta... I can't wait to see what crime stats are for after this game's been out for a month. That's another thing with the Pokemon Go thing. Like, that game has got to be... That game has got to be like a criminal's wet dream. You have people running around, showing their $600 device, paying no attention to the outside world, and then you have this whole idea where, you know, you can set up... I guess, you know, I haven't played the game, so I could be totally misinformed and fucked here. But, like, let's say that you can actually put a rare Pokemon or something in the middle of a destitute area that nobody is at, and then just have somebody run into that area, and then you rob them because you know that nobody's going to care. Like, I'm just waiting for the first... I'm not saying I'm happy about it. I'm not saying I'm happy it's going to happen, but I just know that there's going to be some, like, Pokemon Go serial killer, Pokemon Go car, auto-jacking, carjacking. It's... This iron is much less effective than usual, and I see it's because my new assistant lowered its temperature. Puh. I was wondering, why is this not wicking the way it usually wicks? Now I know. Okay, let's see how it goes now. It's getting better. There we go. This thing was really misbehaving for a second there. Much better. I almost didn't recognize you, HAKKO. I'm sorry that Jason set you to such a low temperature. I didn't mean to make fun of you, HAKKO. I know it was all Jason's fault. It's all Jason's fault. Blame the new guy. Always blame somebody else for your problems. It's doing pretty good so far. I remember doing these in the pre-microscope days. Oh, that was brutal. Doable, yes, but so brutal. Just gotta push down on it, make sure it's nice and flat with the motherboard. Okay, so now that I have the 2 anchor pins down, I can do the rest of the connector. Having a good microscope makes all of this a lot easier. All right. Obviously, the pins have to be flat on the board for what I'm doing here to work. In the front, you really don't need much. You want minimal solder on the front. You don't want to wind up melting inside the connector. If it melts inside the connector, that means that you lose. You don't want to lose. Like, that's totally fine. Let's clean off this shit as well. Lower the temperature. Up the airflow. That was dumb. I wanted to fill up that little corroded hole there. I thought if I filled up the corroded hole with solder that it would, whatever that's going, would have a path to continue to. A lot of my stupid decisions in life started with me deciding, oh look, I'm just going to fill up this hole. I've made a lot of bad decisions in life with that mindset. Really don't know why I'd repeat it as an adult. Older adult. What the fuck are you? Alright. So I guess the $1,000,000 question, is that destroyed or is that just some stuff, a little bit of nasty, superficial nastiness that I can blow away? Let's see here. We're just going to create a nice big ball and see if that gets... Yeah, it's gross. That's got to go. By the way, Apple, if you're watching, because I know that you guys are now fans, nice try. Yeah. This let me show you guys something. This is. Let's see if I have time or if I'm gonna have another 30 people walk in. If If I can yeah, Apple, I appreciate you. I see what you're trying to do. Check this out. This is kind of funny. I'm just gonna take a board that's similar to this, but last year's model. Because they did something really cute. See the diode? Okay, now let's take out last year's model. Now let's do this one. So I'm not sure if you noticed that, but the backlight circuit is pretty much the same from this year to that year, except it's all upside down. The diode is upside down. So even though they used all the same parts in the backlight circuit, they put the backlight circuit on the board upside down. And this is also one of the ones where there's no board view released anywhere for it. So I just wanted to say to whoever works at Apple who thought that was funny, I just wanted to say nice try. I appreciate you, bro. You know. That's what I call masterful fucking trolling right there. Putting the exact same circuit on the 2015-16 board as you had on the 2013-14. The exact same circuit, the exact same components, the exact same layout, except you put it on there upside down. You... Nice try. Because that's the thing. You probably would have caught a lot of newbies with that who thought, okay, well, there's no board view released for this, but it looks like the same thing, so I guess I can just... I'm sure it's the same circuit. I'm sure you probably caught a lot of newbies with that. Literally taking almost the same fucking circuit. The only difference is the the number of output capacitors. Same circuit. All you did is put it upside down. One that doesn't have a board view released. Nice, nice, nice. Thank you. Oh, man. That's masterful trolling. Again, like, you think the YouTube comment section is trolling? You think the YouTube comment section is trolling? Check out what Apple does. Man, I figured that out. I was sitting here just laughing the entire time. So we're just gonna rub off the oxidation on that. The whole idea is I want the oxidation in the junk to kind of climb my iron. And somebody walked in. All right, back to this. Back to cleaning. Didn't do a good job there. Okay, so the idea... Yes, I'm scraping to get rid of the oxidation. I'm not scraping to the point where I'm destroying the solder mask on the board. I'm just scraping to the point of getting rid of the junk. That's the thing. You don't want to solder to a pad. You don't want to solder onto junk. You don't want to have solder on top of oxidation and the oxidation on top of the pad. You want to solder directly to the pad, which is why I'm doing all that scraping. Here's another idiot. He's just about to walk into a sign for the candy store. And he just walked into the sign and dropped his phone. I don't know why I'm deriving so much pleasure from this. Fucking people with the fucking Pokemon, man. I gotta set up a trap for the Pokemon people. Like, it's so tempting to just open the basement to the store and just not put up a sign and just leave it open and to see how many Pokemon Go players can I collect. Gotta catch them all. Just go down there and sell them back their freedom. That would be pretty interesting. How many Pokemon Go players can I catch in my basement? Should I be not saying this stuff? Should I probably not be saying this stuff on a YouTube channel with 200,000 subscribers? Probably not. But man, like, Okay, I get it. If you're in the middle of nowhere, fine. Fucking go for it. But, like, the middle of Manhattan, there's like 8 million people wandering around this stupid little rock. And this is where you're going to choose to walk around, not paying attention to your surroundings and bump into people and shit. It's just like, you're going to get robbed. Or you're going to get killed by some serial killer that puts you in his basement. Just think about these things now. Show me a light. I didn't plug the drive in. So I gotta wait for the question mark. I can see the light on my side, but you can't. Come on. You can do it. There we go. Question mark folder. And that's that. So hopefully this has been informative when it comes to microscopes. Hopefully you learned something. And that's that for today.